Hey folks, welcome back to another HP Gaming GameLINK video. Today the time has come. It is the end of the month and that means we're going to be exploring all things crowdfunding. This is your March 2021 Gotcha Backer. Hello everybody, welcome back. March has been a huge month. For those of you who don't know me, and you should by now, my name is Matt and I'm here to talk to you all things crowdfunding for March 2021. Obviously won't be going through all the different projects that are out there. There is a lot going on. March was another big bumper month for us in terms of Kickstarter and GameFound and other crowdfunding platforms as well. First things first, there are a few things we need to go through. We've started receiving lots and lots of different things. Obviously, shipping lanes are opening again, which is fantastic. We have received our copy of Bristol 1350, along with the exclusive character cards pack. Expected unboxing for that in the not too distant future. We've received, what else? We've got Hunted and things. We've talked about that. Hunted is there. It's unboxed. If you are one of our Patreon subscribers, you have already seen the unboxing video, and hopefully by now, if you're watching this, you would have already seen it as well. It should be live on the channel. Lots of other bells and whistles that are in the works in terms of things that are arriving and on their way, some of which we are going to talk about very, very shortly. Look, there's lots going on in terms of HP Gaming. Just to give you a bit of an update, we've just uploaded our Marvel Champions video, so if you haven't checked that out, please by all means do so. That's a bit of a review and a buyer's guide. We have our solo playthrough of Dune Imperium, which is shot. I'm in the process of editing that. Not right now, obviously, because I'm delivering a piece to camera for our Gotcha Backer. Plenty going on, lots more happening. Please also let us know if there's anything you ever want to see on the channel in the comments below. But let's get into it with some much anticipated project updates. Okay folks, project updates. The first one I want to talk about today is Foundations of Rome. Now this is a biggie. This is a great not worker placement, but it sort of is worker placement / city building, SimCity style building game where you are architects trying to build up Rome and place your buildings in such a way that it will score you the most points. So yeah, in a way it's worker placement, it's strategy, it's all sorts of things that I love. The best part about this is it is a huge game board with double sides for different player counts, and it has all sorts of city miniatures in different trays, and it is epically huge. It's going to take up a lot of space on the shelf, but that's okay because it's going to be absolute quality. Arcane Wonders, for those of you who have been following along with this series, you know that Arcane Wonders produce some amazing stuff. And this is no exception. The quality of the city sculpts and everything else. We've actually upgraded our pledge as well in the pledge manager, which has now closed to include the Sundrop wash on those miniatures as well. So the cities will now have this beautiful architectural wash in different colors and shapes and designs based on the player boards that you choose. So happy to say though, with the update of this project, yes, there's lots going on in terms of everything else. The pledge manager has closed, shipping lanes have been booked, and I have it on good authority that it is on its way, which means that in the not too distant future, it'll be arriving, albeit later due to COVID and everything else, but it'll be arriving very, very soon. And that, my friends, is very exciting. I cannot wait to get that one to the table and get a playthrough done too. Foundations of Rome is going to be absolutely amazing, both visually appealing on the table, but also deeply strategic as well. And the good thing is too, it's also got a very quick play time. Depending on your player count, you're looking at about an hour to maybe an hour, 95 minutes at most, depending on how much people think about their moves and things. But I think you can get a two-player game done as little as 45 minutes if you both know the game reasonably well. So that's exciting as well. Big, epic presence on the game table. Short playtime, quick playtime, or deep strategy playtime, depending on who you're playing against. So that's exciting. And that's our update for Foundations of Rome. The second game I want to talk about, project updates for folks, is a game by the legendary designer Martin Wallace. Now, this is the man who also brought to the table Australia. It's with a Z, not an S. Australia being that it's 1913. Outback Australia is the home to where all the elder gods have, or the old ones have converged to recoup after being beaten back, and it's a last stand between them taking over the world. This one I'm talking about, though, has a very different theme. It's about space exploration and trying to shoot for the moon. Quite literally, I'm talking about Rocketman by Phalanx Games. And this is a deck builder / worker placement game, which I think has received a bit of love, but I think it's been overshadowed by another game of the same genre and style, the sci-fi themed Dune Imperium, which I mentioned earlier. Dune Imperium having obviously come out and been very, very popular and very successful. We are getting more in, so if you haven't already placed a pre-order or a back order for those, by all means do so now. Rocketman is the same sort of worker placement, a deck building, project building game where you're trying to obviously get as far as you can into the far reaches of space, and you get victory points based on how far you go. Very simple premise, very simple rule set, very easy to understand. Again, another game that looks good on the table. The presence with the upgraded miniature packs, which aren't essential to gameplay, but just make it look that much more spectacular. Something I'm very excited about. And also I'm a fan of Martin Wallace's work. I'm looking forward to the expansions for Australia that are coming to Kickstarter in the not too distant future. Very excited to see Rocketman. Obviously, fan of deck builders across the board, so you know I'm going to enjoy that component. But Rocketman is currently shipping and hopefully will be on our doorsteps very soon as well. Looking forward to seeing that one, unboxing that and showing you what's inside the box. And hopefully we'll get some more Rocketman information for you before May, which is very exciting. All right, next one I want to talk about is one that has recently arrived, but I didn't mention that in the opening, and that's because I actually want to show you the box. I am talking about the wonderful Tortuga 2199. It is here. It is still in shrink because we're yet to do an unboxing for it. Now, for those of you that are following our Instagram, and if you're not, please check it out, HB Gaming AU. There is a photo that we put up to show you just a bit of extra scope, because this particular deluxe captain's pledge not just includes a 5th player in the box, 5th player option, so you can play up to 5, but it also included a playmat. Now, for those of you that know how big our game table is, and there are a few out there who've actually sat at this table, which we're excited about, you'll know that photo shows you just how big the game mat is. It is nearly half the size of the table. So by all means, I cannot wait to get that playmat out and put all the components out there, because it's going to give you a sense of scope for this Tortuga space base. Tortuga is a game about space piracy, which I love. And of course, it has a familiar element and mechanic that we all know that I enjoy, and that is, of course, deck building. Again, I'm sorry if you're not a fan of deck builders, maybe you won't get as much out of this channel. I do love a good deck building game. Tortuga 2199, check it out. We're going to be doing an unboxing, and hopefully by the time this goes live, the unboxing may already be there. Who knows? If you're one of our Patreons, you will get access to it first. So keep checking back, and hopefully we'll get it out to you very, very soon. Very excited to see all the minis that are in this box as well, for all the different spaceships that are involved, and the sculpts therein. Very exciting stuff ahead for us. Okay, next one I want to talk about is a nice big budget game from Horrible Guild. I am talking about the ever impressive Dungeon Fighter. Now, we ended up going for all-in collector's pledge, the works of the huge big collector's box with all 4 Dungeon Fighter brand games packaged in the one box. Heaps of tokens, components, throwing tools, all sorts of gadgets. For those of you who don't know or don't remember what Dungeon Fighter is about, it is a dexterity game with dice. But the dice are in all shapes and sizes, not just your standard D6s. There are D2s. There are all sorts of crazy things that you can throw around, but it's not about just throwing them on the table. Sometimes you might have to throw them from behind your back or under your leg or from the back of a chair halfway across the room. And depending on where you land will be where you deal damage to whatever it is you are fighting. Or if you don't hit the target at all, that'll dictate how much damage you take in return. Dungeon Fighter comes in 4 flavors, 4 different adventures, all in that one big box, which is fantastic. We're going to require a lot of space because we'll be throwing dice around. Great one for Blair. If you watched our zombie dice playthrough, you will know that Blair, being only 2, has a great arm on her. So I reckon she'll take to that one like a duck to water. Dungeon Fighter at this stage, Pledge Manager has closed and orders have started shipping. I think there's still some discrepancies in terms of shipping containers and getting shipping containers booked and sorted across the board, because it's just been crazy demand at the moment. But I believe it's on par to be delivered very, very soon. So that's exciting as well. Lots of good things ahead and heaps more content to come your way based on the different project updates that we have for you. So keep checking back, and we'll be posting stuff as it becomes available on Dungeon Fight. I'm very excited to see how that goes and obviously get a couple of playthroughs for you as well. And last but not least, for our project updates for March 2021, this one I'm super excited about. It's not a deck builder. It's not a CMON game either, so don't worry about that. This is a different kind of product, different kind of game, different kind of mechanics. It is a storytelling, story-driven campaign adventure that is designed for people aged 7 and up. And it's a bit of an escape room in a box sort of deal, along with finding clues, solving riddles, and basically using your smarts to decipher the story. Which game am I talking about? Some of you may have already guessed. I'm talking about The Shivers by Andy Logan. Now, this is a game where you set up different scenarios or different scenic pieces, insert a card into the back at a certain orientation, and the scenes are pop-up art that have doors and windows and things that you can look through to discover the clues. You even get magnifying glasses because some of the clues are teeny, 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 tiny. So you'll need to use your smarts to solve the mystery of The Shivers. Now, the good thing is as well, they've completed all the artwork for all of the different episodes, which is fantastic. It means they can move along with their production elements. It also means as well that episode 0, the prologue to the entire story, is available now and playable on Tabletop Simulator. So you can jump online, jump on Tabletop Simulator, download the module, and you can actually have a bit of a playthrough. Some of the artwork for the episodes is actually up online on the Kickstarter updates page, but they do put a bit of a warning in there. Don't analyze it too much because you might spoil the mystery of that first episode, and maybe some of the mysteries that therein lie down the track episodes in, which is fantastic. Definitely worth checking this one out. I don't think there's a late pledge open. I think it's closed already for Shivers because it was something that we backed obviously early on, I think in July last year. So it's been around in the works for a while. They are still on target to make their deadline for June this year. They're saying 12 months. So very excited to see if they can get that to us. With the artwork complete, it's basically a matter of printing and getting everything done. So whether they'll wait for printing prices to come down before they hit the button or flip the switch, who knows, it's anyone's guess, but at this stage they're slated to stay on target for a June release, and very, very excited to see The Shivers hit the table, particularly because it's something that our now 7-year-old junior gamer can get behind and tell her own story for as well. Plus, talking about table presence with other games that we've talked about in this project updates, having that as a physical presence on the table, the pop-up book story time element, I'm all for it. I think it's amazing. It's going to be incredibly creative, and it's going to be a lot of fun to play through those adventures with Charlotte. We're just going to have to probably keep Blair at bay so she doesn't damage any of the pop-up components of those boards. But The Shivers by Andy Logan looks like it's going to be amazing. Looking forward to it hitting the table, and of course, as soon as it arrives, we will unbox that sucker for you and give you a rundown of what's inside. But that is The Shivers and that is the end of the project updates for March 2021. Having said that, there's still a lot more to come. We've got to get through a lot of other things, so please stick with me now as we talk about the freshly backed projects we've backed for March 2021. Okay, so the first project that we backed that we're very excited about, and when I say we, I mean me, because I actually love the base game. I think it's one of the most creative card games going around, and it has many, many iterations, so I'm obviously not alone in that. I'm talking about Keith Baker's Gloom. Now, this is published by Atlas Games originally, and the Gloom card game is not as unique as it used to be. It's played with a game or a deck of transparent cards, and you each have a family, and as you play cards you have to storytell the elements and basically make your family as miserable as possible before helping them shuffle off the mortal coil into their grisly demise. And the more gloomier or the more depressing they are at the end of the game, the negative pathos points they have, the person with the lowest score wins. So if you have a character that is at -20, you're doing okay. There is a how to play guide on the channel, so by all means check that out if you want to understand a bit more about the base game of Gloom. But the project I'm talking about isn't Gloom. It is a title called Gloomier. and it's an adventure based at Hemlock Hall, which is a separate standalone game with more of a storytelling component to it that has a whole new set of families, whole new set of cards, and a lot of crazy fun to be had. This one also comes, in terms of the backing that we've backed, with a Gloomy Gloom crate, which means you can put all of the expansions for Gloom, the base game, and pretty much every Gloom release, from what I can understand, into the one box, which means you can put in Gloom Cthulhu, Gloom in Space, Gloom of Thrones, which is awesome if you're a Game of Thrones fan, all that sort of stuff as well in the one components. They're also allowing you to get add-ons and additional copies of base games or different flavors of base games at a different price as well. So if you're a fan of Gloom, if you like the game, if you want to try it out and you haven't got a copy, by all means hit us up. If you're one of our Patreon subscribers, you can get in on our Pledge Manager as well and secure your copies of all of those titles if you wish, along with backing Gloomier as well and getting your Gloom fix on. There is a Gloom version on Steam, which you can get, which you can play digitally, and I highly suggest you check it out because it is a great adaptation of a great card game. But there's nothing quite like sitting around the table and storytelling the misery of these families as you drive them further and further towards death. Gloomier promises to add a lot more to already an amazing game, and I don't know 100% whether it's compatible or not with the other base games and the other expansions. I think there is an element where you can mix and match, particularly the families that are in the game. But we're looking forward to getting Gloomier to the table and showing you what that's all about. So yeah, stay tuned for more project updates on that one as they become available. But that's Gloomier by Atlas Games. Okay, now last month we talked about these ones arriving. We have since unboxed them, and that unboxing video is on our channel. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you have already seen it. If not, you will just have to check back and obviously have a look at it. I'm talking about the third installment of a wonderful little series, which I sort of found by chance. The first two games I have played through several times. I am yet to win. They are very hard to beat. They are 1 and 2 player games. I do prefer to play them solo. The 2-player game can be a little bit tricky and a bit hard to take on because there's a lot happening. I am talking about Hunted. Now this is Hunted Kobayashi Tower, Hunted Mining Colony 415. I actually prefer, I'm a big fan of Die Hard, but I think I prefer Mining Colony 415. The idea of throwing blaster fire into the box and trying landing it in that little square or in the circle, very, very cool, because you all know what I'm like is with dice rolling. My dice rolls are shite. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about the third game in the series, fourth if you include the Christmas one we talked about in previous updates. We are talking about Hunted Woad Ridge, which is a brand new production by Gabe Barrett and artwork by Jorge Velez as well. And this is the official third expansion or third version of this game, and it gets into a little bit of alien gear. Not aliens as in Mining Colony 415. I'm talking about aliens in reduction. There's two things going on here. There's multi-layered, multi-facets of color, which I like as well. So instead of just being a blue tone or an orange tone, there's a green and purple element depending on where you're at. And there's also a storybook that's included in the box. And this has, 90 different story entries. So as certain things happen, certain cards are played, you might be directed to turn to page 4 and find entry 6 or whatever the case may be. That's exciting for me because it's not about, rolling dice or, dexterity. There's actually like a choose your own adventure element, which is something completely unique and different again. So Gabe Barrett has created games that are uniquely identical, but also uniquely different from one another. And that takes moxie. Very excited to see what Woad Ridge, brings to this collection of games. Now, Kobayashi Tower, the artwork and the theme is great. I love that. Mining Colony 415 is an experience because you've got to basically get through a location deck of cards to get to the final location, same as with Kobayashi, and defeat the end villain to win the game. But getting to that point, pushing your luck to that point, incredibly hard, incredibly tough. And I have to say my dexterity with Mining Colony has been better than my dice throwing with Kobayashi. So yeah, we'll see how we go there. I can't wait to see what Woad Ridge brings to an already amazing series. And along with that, in the project updates, Gabe has let slip that there are 2 other projects in the pipeline that will be coming straight direct to retail. So if that's something that he's open to and he's willing to let us get on board, we will be potentially looking at stocking those in our store once they become available. So check back for updates on those. But that's Hunted Woad Ridge. There is still a late pledge manager available at the time of this recording. So by all means, if you want to jump on board, make sure you're one of our Patreon subscribers and we will secure your copy for you. Very excited to talk more about that as details come to light. And we'll move on and get to our next project for March 2021. Okay, now we're on to a game that we had a bit of a last minute backing for, not something that we sort of were expecting, and we came across it and went, yes, bam, I'll take it. This is one by AEG. Now, the Alderac Entertainment Group were the original publishers of Love Letter, Mystic Vale, the card crafting deck building game, and a plethora of other titles. They do some great stuff. I think they did Smash Up as well. Now, this one here is something that I came across. I had a look at it and I went, you know what, that sounds like a lot of fun. And the price point was really cheap as well. I think it was less than $60 or something Australian for what looks like it's going to be a lot of content. And this is a game called Meeples Monsters. Now, it's basically about a town and you all play a different facet of family or villages, I said, in the town, I guess. And you have the option to either beef up your military or beef up the town's defenses. And at certain points in the game, the Meeples are going to have to defend from the monsters that are trying to attack the town. So you can build up tower defense, you can build up your army of Meeples, you can send them out like a bit of like worker placement / tower defense style game. Think of it as a cross between Stone Age and Kingdom Rush, for example. So I looked at it and I looked at the deluxe Meeple upgrades. Instead of just having the coloured Meeples, they've got little screen printed Meeples with faces, and they've got, you know, knives and swords and everything else. There's mystics and there's knights and wizards and everything else. They look amazing, look really great details. And the amount of memes that have been created from these designs, including a little Bernie Sanders mask on crossing. Fantastic. I love it. It's so good. And it's been really fun to see games of late taking on that mantle and putting more comic pop culture references in their games. Those of you who saw last month's update know that we backed Zombicide Undead or Alive. There's a Bernie Sanders mini exclusive add-on box as well, which is a bit ridiculous. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Meeples and Monsters. Gameplay is simple. On your turn, you do a couple of worker placement things. You have a response to those things, complete those actions, and at the end of each round, the monsters will move forward to try and attack and cause trouble. So very excited to get that one to the table. It's a simple enough game that someone like Charlotte will be able to understand. I mean, if she can manage, you know, tiny epic dinosaurs, I'm pretty sure she can manage this one. And it's also something that I think thematically is not too heavy. It's a light style game, Euro style game, tower defense style game, which I like as well. So Meeples and Monsters, or Meeples versus Monsters, it probably should be called Meeples and Monsters, is good too, is a game that is going to be very light, great price point. There is still late pledge manager available. The campaign has only just finished as of this recording about a day and a half ago. So you can get on board if you're one of our Patreon subscribers. We can help you secure your copy. Monsters and Meeples, light entertainment, a lot of fun, great quality production from AEG. Looking forward to getting that one to the table as soon as it hits our shores. Okay, second last one for March 2021. It is one of the smallest games we have backed. In fact, I think we actually backed it towards the end of February, but that's okay. We're moving into March now, it's fine. It is one of the smallest ones we backed, but yet it's got one of the biggest amounts of content that we've backed. And I am talking about another one in the series of games that we have been backing since, I think 2018, when their Zombie Edition came out. Yes, I'm talking about Tiny Epic Dungeons. Now, this is in vein of Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, Tiny Epic Zombies, Tiny Epic Mechs, all that. Tiny Epic Pirates, which is due to arrive soon as well. Very excited for that. Tiny Epic Dungeons is very much a Diablo-esque, or Diablo if you're Australian like me, dungeon crawling mayhem where you've got a time track, which is your torch. If your torchlight runs out, the monsters will consume you and quite literally in some cases eat you alive. They've moved away from item meeples, which is little meeples you've got in these games here that actually can have, well, not in dinosaurs, have things attached to them. They've moved away from meeples, from Tiny Epic Defenders, etc. And they're actually including minis in the box, which is huge for the Tiny Epic series. So the mini sculpts look fantastic. There was a bit of an issue with some of the designs. Some people felt they were quite sexist and very much, showcasing unnecessary components of people's bodies and skin tones and everything else as well, or skin types or body types, I should say. So Scott Arms and GameLINK Games decided to dial back those sculpts, and they've made them a bit more friendly for everybody, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it's exciting to see that they're acknowledging what the fans have to say. So the sculpts have all been completed. What's interesting as well is that with the different characters that are included in the game box, they're actually characters that are from other parts of the Tiny Epic universe. Tiny Epic Defenders, Tiny Epic Heroes War, Tiny Epic Kingdoms, Tiny Epic Quest. I think they have a few of those in there as well. And they're all effectively becoming part of the same larger universe. And you get a map, I think, which is the Kingdom of Gloomier, which is the original D&D map that the creator of the game actually used when they were in university and playing D&D on a regular. Tiny Epic Dungeons does have a deluxe version, and that is, of course, the version we're into because we love the deluxe content. Lots of content in a small box. The kicker is they've kept all the different dungeon tiles and minis and all the extra item cards and everything else, and all the extra content still fits in the same thin, tiny, small box. I don't know how they've done it. They're crazy wizardry that have to fit it all in the one box. But that's awesome. You could take that anywhere. I mean, it's so easy and so portable, easy to post as well, which is fantastic. Tiny Epic Dungeons looks like it's going to be one of those games that will hit the table a lot. I'm worried that it's going to kick Tiny Epic Dinosaurs to the curb, but I guess Tiny Epic Dungeons does have a bit more mature style content. I mean, obviously the dinosaurs run rampant and eat each other and lots of stuff, but it's done in a light-hearted way, if that's possible. Tiny Epic Dungeons is designed to be a heavier game, so that's exciting as well. Similar in vein to Tiny Epic Zombies, that was actually quite heavy in terms of gameplay, I found, but I'm really excited to see what Tiny Epic Dungeons brings to the Tiny Epic universe, particularly now we're moving away from Meeples and into minis. That's so exciting for such a small game. But of course, as soon as it arrives in, I think, March next year, about 12 months down the track, we will have an update for you. We will unbox it for you. We will show you all about it and hopefully get a playthrough done as well. But that's our Tiny Epic Dungeons. All right, the last one on the list, we have indeed saved the best and the biggest in this case until last. Now, this is a game that I've heard a lot about. I've watched playthrough videos of. I have talked about with friends over coffee and other, exotic beverages, but I've never actually played myself. And I thought, what better time to get on board? They have put it on Kickstarter to kickstart 2 new expansions for this already huge game. And when I say huge, I mean huge, because the game on the table looks amazing, especially with its giant woodland tree that sits about, so high on the table. I am, of course, talking about Everdell. Now this is the Everdell collection. It's a complete collection. It's also got the new expansions, New Leaf, Mystic, not Mystic. I'm talking, of course, as I said, it doesn't matter. The Everdell expansions, forgive me, it would have appeared on your screen by now anyway. This is what happens when you have a little sleep and you do recordings. So the Everdell collection is a complete collection of every Everdell release to date in one handy storage solution. This means it will hold sleeved cards, it will hold all the cards, the components, the tree, all the other 3D elements. There is also an add-on where you can get little component holders and trays for all the different bits and pieces, which is amazing. All of the meeples are going to be screen printed as well. I'm very excited for that. And I'm super pumped to see where they take this game in future expansions. Obviously, the complete collection, I think, is going to have all 5 expansions to date, including the 2 new ones that are on Kickstarter. As I said, it's a storage solution as well for all the components in one nice, big, beautifully presented box, which has a recyclable sleeve you can put over the box if you want to. Obviously, you can discard it if you want to as well. But the fact that Everdell gets such great reviews, it rates high on Board Game Geek as well. I'm excited to jump on board and join the Everdell community for the first time. This is a worker placement style game, very beautiful Euro design, similar in art style. Well, not really. I'm thinking Creature Comforts is a little bit more cartoony. For those of you that have watched the channel, you know which one I'm talking about. This one here is a bit more Mice and Mystics, I guess, from Flat Hat Games. This is a beautiful production, beautifully produced game, and the community of players have just made it, absolutely fantastic. Lots to talk about that when it becomes available, but we'll talk about that as updates happen, and we'll probably have more project updates about it. It's not due to arrive until the end of the year, maybe even early next year, but we'll get that one to you as soon as we can and give you updates as soon as we know more. And that concludes all of our updates for the freshly backed projects that we have for you for March 2021. Let's wrap things up. And there you have it. That's our updates, project updates, and freshly backed projects that we've backed for March 2021. There is a lot to get through. There are a few other projects that didn't make the cut that we obviously did jump in on as well. But as always, we want to hear from you. Is there anything that we missed? Is there any projects we should have jumped on board? Honourable mentions must go to Sins, the Infernal deck building game. That was on our list as well, along with Cult of the Damned. And there's a plethora of other things that we had a look at that we didn't quite... So You've Been Eaten as well, the 2-player game, also designed by Scott Arms, where you are basically a intergalactic miner or a space monster, and you're either swallowed by the monster and have to work your way out, or you are swallowing the robot and trying to keep them digested. That's another one that looks very exciting as well and very interesting to boot. If there's anything we missed that we should have had a check out or had a look at, by all means, please let us know in the comments below. If there's anything you're interested in backing as well, by all means, get a hold of us. As I mentioned at the outset, if you want to jump on board or with any of these projects, you can do so by becoming one of our Patreon subscribers at the address on your screen, www.patreon.com/HPGamingAU. Jump on board there, become one of our Gamer Army Generals. And not only will you be able to get a plethora of bonuses and credits and things like that as well, and early access to content, you'll also get free express shipping within Australia on all of your orders from our store, which you'll find at hbgaming.com.au. At the same time, if you've got any comments you don't want to pop them below, you can always hit us up via email at orders@hbgaming.com.au as well. Stay in touch on your socials. Check us out, Instagram, Facebook, and everything else as well. Plenty more to come. It's been a big March. It's going to be an even bigger April. Have an amazing Easter, all of you out there. Those of you overseas watching, please stay safe and look after each other. And make sure you get back to the table, play some games. What games are you playing over Easter or going to be playing over Easter? Please let us know in the comments below. Until then, folks, you'll hear from us very soon, and we'll get back to the table. But until then, it is, of course, bye for now.